If you're fond of sand dunes and salty air, quaint little villages here and there.
Sangigi Beach on the idyllic Indonesian island of Lombok is a tourist drawcard.
Cheers.
But this paradise is hiding a toxic secret.
Some areas we're probably better to put in a layer of soil on top, at least immediately, just to cover it up. Even if it's only 10 centimetres of soil, just to actually stop the immediate risk.
Not one tremor, but several sent people on Lombok and neighbouring Bali running in fear.
Lombok is covered in deadly asbestos rubble after a massive earthquake in 2018 destroyed hundreds of thousands of homes, a quarter of which had asbestos roofs. Instead of cleaning up the asbestos rubble, as would be mandatory in Australia, Indonesian authorities sent bulldozers in to crush it into millions of pieces.
What that then means, though, is that, say, if you had 1 million tonnes of broken asbestos sheeting, you now have millions of tonnes of asbestos-contaminated rubble. All of that entire environment that we've got chickens landing in, kids playing in, people living in, is basically asbestos-contaminated.
Australian Dave Hodgkin works in disaster management for Miyamoto International. With a team of experts, he took 31 samples at more than 100 locations. They were tested in 3 different labs. 2/3 were contaminated with asbestos.
Where we've had a asbestos building in the middle of Australia, one building that's been demolished by accident, that whole area would be fenced off. It would be declared a hazardous zone, a hazmat zone really. This soil is crushed.
7:30 tagged along as the team took more samples just a few kilometres from Sangigi Beach. They were sent to Australia for testing.
What we're most interested in is if there's any contamination from pieces of bonded board from the rubble that's the site of the earthquake.
Experts and locals told 7:30 there isn't a single doctor in Lombok trained to diagnose asbestos-related diseases, so it's impossible to know how many people here, including tourists, may have breathed in asbestos.
Once they are breathed into lungs, they tend to stay there for a long time and eventually cause many problems, including cancer.
Lombok has an alarming rate of tuberculosis, which shares many symptoms of asbestos-caused cancer or mesothelioma. Experts, including Ken Takahashi, believe it's possible many don't have TB at all, but asbestos-related disease.
Asbestosis, which is a fibrotic condition caused by asbestos exposure, is very often complicated with tuberculosis.
Ibu Rahun and her family, like others, have used recycled material from their old home to rebuild. They used broken asbestos roofing to make this tiny hut for her mother.
Ya, beli separuh kan dikasih uang yang 25 gitu. Terus itu dipakai beli bahan-bahan gitu. Terus sisanya itu bekas yang dulu.
We've got kids sitting here playing with toys. This is sort of a classic example where we can see, a piece of asbestos. The kids are probably using that as a little scoop to load their truck or to do something else with, but the entire environment through here is broken asbestos throughout this rubble.
Indonesia is one of a dwindling number of countries that still uses asbestos widely in the construction industry. Despite a global campaign and reforms by other neighbouring countries, it hasn't banned the lethal substance. The Indonesian government is considering what it can do to protect NGO workers and the people of Lombok. It concedes the situation is extremely challenging and the only solution is to relocate entire villages so it can clear the area of asbestos. But that's simply not possible.
If you imagine little children who are lower down, closer to the dust, running and playing in the dust, disturbing the dust, breathing that dust in on a daily basis for years, then you've got to start to think that we're facing some serious risk.
1.5 million tourists visited Lombok before the pandemic, and with direct flights from Australia now bouncing back, that number is set to rise.